gee, that's interesting now. Oh, cool. Okay.
Oh yeah. So the book, how did you find it?
So I was doing some.
You should probably clarify what the book is.
Oh yeah. So I am currently reading Activist Affordances, which
You got to
is
say the
a
name.
by Arceli Dokumasi.
Yep. Nice. Nice.
Apologies if I butchered your name. Um, and I fell upon it while looking at Ritfield's work, Eric Ritfield's work. Like I have read their Field of Affordances stuff, which I love, and is a really nice representation of exploring how things interact with other things. So I got very excited about that, and I was diving into it, and then I found Eric's website, um, and then was like, oh, there are lots of papers, and all of them are very, very interesting. So went down a rabbit hole. And a lot of my work is related to people who are under the neurodiverse label, but also have other disabilities, and also my own stuff, like partially sighted, partially hearing, Meniere's. Like I have disabilities too. So it's like, okay, cool, this is interesting. I've never heard the ecological approach being spoken about with disability. Not really, because it's usually a little bit a layer above. It's more the philosophy versus specificity. And I'm like, cool, this is interesting. So I found a paper. Let me zap open Zotero so that I can tell you what that paper is,
I was going to
which
say
spoke about that.
you know I'm going to ask.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask. Um, and
That
it
came out 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, I know. So the original paper that I saw was Disabling Scaffolds, the lived embodiment of disability in an oppressive socio-material environment.
Easy for you to say.
Exactly. Do you want the DOI? There you go. Put it in the chat.
Thank you.
And it's open, which is what I really like because, yeah.
What I've noticed is a lot of most ecological psychology researchers
Mm,
publish open access papers, and there are people in sort of adjacent fields that do some open access, but nowhere near as many. Like
mm,
whenever I look for an eco-psych paper, I mean, arbitrary number here, but like 95% are open access. And if they're not open access, the person has published it on ResearchGate anyway, so you can get it. Whereas when you go and look at the alternative approaches to ecological psychology, you go, oh, okay, that's hidden. Oh, okay, that's hidden. I can get the abstract, or I might be able to get the first 2 or 3 pages, or
mm.
I could contact the author and then maybe they can give me a manuscript of it. It's much harder to get access to the research.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's more mainstream and ecological psychology isn't, which gave me this little thought when I was reading through some papers the other day. It's like, maybe we don't want ecological psychology to grow because then people will have to pay for the papers.
Yeah, maybe not. Like all of Ritfield's papers are available on the website on ericritfield.com, and I'm just like, cool. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, more, 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 more.
Wait, ericwhat.com? That's not the one that I found.
Ba, 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 ba. I've been doing Eric. I think it's that. I might have spelt it wrong. Oh, I haven't. That's the wrong browser. That's why.
Yeah, so while you're looking for that, I am going through the Introduction to Ecological Psychology book again. Because what I wanted to do, because what I found myself doing, is trying to timestamp the big long video. Like, go watch this like 6 7 minute, and go watch that like 5 10 minute, and go watch this 15 minute, and then jump back to that bit. And yeah, no, it's becoming a pain. So I'm just going to do all of the like sections. I'm not going to say chapters because chapter one I've split up into two because of the way that it's discussed. Thank you, found it. I've split it up into two so that I can just point back to go watch that video, go watch that video, go watch that video, rather than trying to timestamp a 2 hour plus video.
Yeah, maybe that might be good. So
Yeah,
are you re-recording them or are you just cutting up the video you had originally?
I'm re-recording and redoing it because when I did the long video, I cut out sections of the book to try and make it not 5 hours long. So, there are lots of mini sections and mini points and arguments and claims made that I tried to uncover, to like suggest, but it's a glancing comment. So unless you really know what
Mm,
you're looking at and know what you're talking about, and are familiar with the content, it's going to go way over your head. It's
mm,
So what I want to try and do is emphasize some of those smaller points a little bit, but also draw attention to specific parts of the chapters rather than it being a whole story, which is what it was. The 2 hour one, it's a whole story. Rather than it being a 2 hour video, it's a lot of 10-minute videos of here's the traditional assumptions.
mm,
Here's why the central executive is a thing. Here's why the central executive shouldn't be a thing. Here's some other assumptions that we could use. Like, they are 4 different videos with 4 specific goals. They're like directed behaviors. Rather than it being a half an hour of a video of me trying to discuss what ecological psychology, some of the ideas in ecological psychology is. I'm like, so I feel like the bigger video is great for those that are familiar with it, i.e., they're doing a
yeah.
course in it, they've done a few months of their own
Course, is it?
research,
Uh,
university course in perception or action, or they've got a module in skill acquisition or something like that. Um, no, that I don't think there is a course in ecological psychology online. I know there's skill acquisition ones, but yeah, maybe you can make it looking at your face. There you go. You can make a course on ecological psychology. There you go.
fuck it. No thanks. I don't want that challenge. That is one heck of a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, can you just make a course on the entire world and how we rethink everything? No.
No.
I would like some time to, I don't know, breathe. But yeah, so the video I think is good for those that are already in it. But if you're not in it, it's not a bite-size thing, which is
Is it not?
no. So that's what I've because as much as I enjoy coaching and as much as I feel like coaching is the way that it's most of my time. It's where I spend my time. It's what I do with ecological psychology stuff. I feel like if you're not a coach, you might not go into the videos that I'm doing, such as the last couple of videos that I put out. I was like, I'm using the ecological approach and I'm talking about the ecological approach, but unless you're a sports coach and you're interested in ecological psychology, you probably won't click on it. Um,
Which is probably a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche.
it is and it isn't. It's skill acquisition is huge in
Mm,
sports coaching. And the ecological approach and the constraints led approach is growing. It is large. But what I feel, because I don't have evidence for this, is happening in the coaching space is that there are 2 types of coaches. There are some coaches that are interested in learning anything and everything that they can grab their hands on and trying to develop themselves. But they are coach developers, not
mm.
coaches. And the coach developers often are aware of what their perspective is and will shrug things off if they don't particularly like it or agree with it or they don't think it's worth their time. Then there are the other coaches that just want a drill. Obviously, the coaches that just want a drill have no interest in understanding ecological psychology and different attempts to describe and explain perception. Then they're not
Which
going to be.
completely and utterly blows my mind.
Oh, yes, yeah. But that's they potentially don't have the time for it. They don't have the interest in it because most of them are volunteers. So they're not going to watch the videos, obviously. I understand that. Coach developers also probably won't watch the videos unless they're actually invested and interested in doing it. If it is just a job for them, they won't.
Mm,
If they're doing it in their volunteer time, they won't unless they found something that's interesting there. Which brings me back to what is interesting about ecological psychology. It challenges so many of the traditional um, approaches and perspectives.
mm,
I recognize I'm talking about a false dichotomy here. No, it's not just ecological and traditional. Yes, there are multiple traditional approaches that are different, but for simplicity, false dichotomy here, ecological v traditional. Just going to emphasize that because I know there are going to be some people that say, "Ah, but that's different." Yes, yes, I know. I am aware. I am choosing not to acknowledge all of those other ones.
Because they suck.
Well, they are all different enough. As I mentioned in my recent video about the Paralympics, you're not disabled enough. Oh, that drives me nuts. Yeah, they are not different enough.
Mm.
Oh, as in from each other to be similar to EcoPsych. Anyway, yeah, so I'm kind of just doing a not necessarily a U-turn, but going back to ecological psychology, I've unlisted the other videos that are not related. The coaching videos have kept similar because they're still eco-psych. But yeah, so I'm just
So
going to
I'm
give.
quite intrigued because in one of our last conversations, you were
Yep, I
like,
know.
it just doesn't matter. It's not important. It doesn't, it's just not air.
Again, I think I
Which,
mentioned it in the last conversation. It depends on who I'm talking to.
yeah,
Um,
I suppose at that point you were also talking with a lot of coaches, not coach developers.
mhm.
And that it what you were saying then kind of ascribes to that like separation of like this isn't for coaches, this is more for coach developers who are interested in learning the approach or discovering the approach or thinking about the approach and like to dive deep into all of the lovely fun stuff that ecological psychology can provide.
Well, as ecological psychology suggests, there are different stages, different metastable moments in
Attenuations.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, moments in time, different moments in time, and at that moment in time, I knew roughly where I was going. Well, I knew where I was going. I know where I'm going now. It's just where I was going then has been what's the word? I guess attuned, educated, education of attention to because the more I was looking into how to discuss the topics with the types of people that I'm interested in talking to, it became very apparent looking at the conversations online and various forums that they're not interested
Mm,
in, well, it's not they're not interested in the science. It's they're not interested in the ideas behind it. And those that are interested, as mentioned, are coach developers. But even the coach developers don't really want to acknowledge it. The ones that I've seen that are way up there, and I say way up there when it comes to audience, attention, prestige, those that you would look at like the top of your field, as it were.
mm,
They've been on like BBC Sport, they've spoken with all the pro athletes, those sorts of coach developers. They're not, they don't seem like they are interested in engaging in the conversation. They seem like they're interested in doing their thing, which I totally get. Like, they've found something that works, they follow through on that, and they're going to continue doing that. But that's the difference between a practitioner and a researcher scientist. And I feel myself being more of a, this is why I shifted. I feel myself being more of a researcher scientist practitioner than practitioner that tries to use research and science.
mm.
Because I enjoy the thinking about thinking. I enjoy the research, but I'm not a researcher. I am someone that researches the researches. Yeah, I research the research that is done rather than doing it myself. I'm not an
Mm.
original source of the research. I am just an interested third party, I guess. And looking back at the videos that I can make, that I enjoy making, that I feel like have an audience that are interested, go for it. I mean, you're more likely to watch a video of me discussing ecological psychology than sports coaching.
Yeah.
And I see you as my audience, which is why I asked you with the video, did you watch a video? And you're like, yeah. So,
No.
but yeah. So talk to me about the book.
So I'm right at the beginning, but I have highlighted so many things already in just the introduction because I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. So It is discussing, like, it is what usually, like, disabilities over here, like, activism is over here, and then you've got, like, affordance work and ecological psychology in a separate thing. They're all, like, their own niches that don't work together. And so, what this book is
Speaking
exploring,
hypothetically here, because we know they do.
well, yeah, but they don't, yeah. What happens, and this is the question that was posed, what happens when we think of disability, affordances, and performance together as related terms? And we direct our intention to that. And what happens then? And what drew me in was the way that I approach, like, neurodiversity, my disability, like, all of those things. I never really could explain how. It was just I just get on with it, which is sounds incredibly dismissive, which it's not because I know I have a disability and it's not the case I don't. But I just move through the experience.
Did you watch the deaf video that I put out?
No.
No. Okay. So when you say you have a disability, because
Mm,
I made this sort of like push to the side joke, it was sort of like tongue-in-cheek comment about deaf being a cultural disability.
mm,
I know, I don't like labels, etc., etc. But it was like a tongue-in-cheek side comment because you've got the Paralympics, which is a physical disability, and then deafness, which is a cultural disability because you're not technically disabled because you can still communicate. It's just the rest of society doesn't let you communicate. Uh, because they like, oh no, I don't understand sign language. Learn then. Um, not going to rant about that. But when you say you have a disability,
mm.
are you referring to a medical diagnosis that is a disability which uh, impacts your ability to do certain things, or is it something that society and the culture that we currently live in is actually disabling you more of? Because obviously
Yes.
there are different ways you can view disabilities as a
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
I know. So which ones are we talking
No,
about?
both. Like, it's both for me. Like, there is obviously the, autism
Yeah.
stuff, like, there's that. And then there are the physical disabilities. There is the hearing disability, there is the sight, there is being partially blind, partially hearing, and that part. And then there is actually things like my Meniere's, which is a balance issue, which is often, for me, a lot of it is quite societally imposed.
I wouldn't say that they are separate. That's why tried
Yeah,
to
that's
encourage them
true.
like the because they are together, as we know,
Mm.
embodied, embedded, enacted, extended, etc. Um, I say etc. for the rest of them. Um,
All
but
the E's.
yeah, but as I think we discussed last year about the neurodiverse sort of labeling where it came
Mm.
from what's her name? Is it Singer?
Yes,
I
Judy
can't
Singer.
remember. Yeah, Julia Singer. Um, like came up with she used the term for a medical purpose because the medical profession needed a label, they
Mm.
needed a diagnosis, but culturally, socially, politically, we didn't need anything else. We knew that there are differences, and we know that there are differences. That's what she was saying, and that's her argument. She was saying her mum, I think it was her mum, had autism, and it needed a medical diagnosis for her to be recognized as requiring some assistance. But everywhere else in every other situation in the world, we didn't really need that label, that diagnosis, because we could recognize that they were different to everyone else. And when you say disability, are we talking, this is why I want like context for the conversation. Are we talking in the medical like field or are we talking in everyday life? Because neurodiverse is a term, this is my evolution of
Mm.
the word. Neurodiverse as a term, I think, is useful in the medical context and when we're speaking medically about something
Mm.
or someone. Socially, I don't find it useful.
Mm.
So where are we focusing our conversation on? Excuse me.
I'm still on both.
But we can't talk about both at the same time because the words that we use would mean different things in each context. Because if you say I'm disabled in the medical field, they would say yes because you pass these thresholds.
Mm.
If you say I'm disabled and you're in a social environment, as we've discussed before, it depends who surrounds you. Because if you're deaf in a room with deaf people, you're not
That's
disabled.
true. Hmm.
If you're hearing and you're in a room with deaf people, you're now disabled. So the social environment of disabled is different from the medical environment disabled.
So I think probably more, yeah, I think it is more societal,
Okay,
like the society aspects of it. Yes.
right.
Yeah. And so
I
the idea,
assume that's what the book discusses in some
yes,
way.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. The book was discussing it from that like societal perspective of disability. And one of the really cool phrases that was right in the introduction is activist affordances are performative micro acts or arts through which disabled people enact and bring into being the worlds that are not already available to them, the worlds they need and wish to dwell in. What I found interesting about that was the fact that rather than, because a lot of the presumptions about disability are that other people need to fix it or to provide the solutions. It's that medical model. It's that you need to fit within these like labels and constraints to be classed as this type of person. And then once you have that, you have to have this type of solution and this type of thing has to be done. And this is what disability means. This is what being an autistic person means. This is what being this means. And everyone kind of ascribes to the same thing. Whereas this idea is around what we can actually do. It's about, so a lot of this is related to physical disabilities. So like arthritis, chronic fatigue, stuff like that. But I found it interesting from like the way that in my work with neurodiverse individuals, autistic, ADHD, or DHD, like all of those labels of like a lot of the conversations around that is, well, this is happening to me, it is on me, it is forced upon me, and society needs to adapt. And I'm like, yeah, it would be nice if that happens, but it's not. Like we're expecting every single thing to change. And I remember in a past conversation you were talking about like your experience as a deaf person of like there was loud music. I can't remember the exact thing, but there was a situation where you just moved
Yeah.
because like why wouldn't I? And it the thing I like about this is that it's not really a big, massive revolutionary concept. It's just that's an interesting like going through the conversation about what that is and what that means was quite fascinating to me, and what is fascinating as I'm reading it.
Can you read out that passage again? Because it
Yeah.
got me. I want to address a couple of bits.
Do you want me to pause through
Oh,
it? You're good.
yeah, just go.
Activist affordances are performative micro acts, arts, through which disabled people enact and bring into being the worlds that are not already available to them, the worlds they need and wish to dwell in.
So, activist affordances, I assume, is a term that they are using because,
Yes, they're coining, yeah.
yeah, because the way that they're using affordances, I don't like.
Mm,
I don't like it at all. Um, because it doesn't match the way that affordances are described in ecological psychology.
mm.
Uh, and the way it's suggesting that it's not available in the world shows
That does contradict like
what affordances are.
speakers. Yeah.
Yeah, because they are available, that's why they are affordances.
There's a term in this book, I haven't got to that part yet, called shrinkage, where the affordances are For me, I wouldn't say not there. They are still there, but they are less perceivable to the individual. Like the opportunities are less available to them because of their disability.
I probably wouldn't say the opportunities are less available. I would say the whatever word you want to put there, the thing you've got to do to make it
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
The difficulty of achieving the outcome that you're looking for. However, that will depend on the solution that you've chosen to pick because it's the same with any task, any goal-directed behavior. Like if you want to get an apple off of a tree, to use the example used in Introduction to Ecological Psychology, if you want to get an apple off a tree, if it's a short tree, you can stand up and pick it. If you're in a wheelchair, well, you can't do that. So you need to find a way to either raise you up or have something, a tool to help you do it. If you want to try and raise you up, that's going to be much harder than getting a stick and whacking a tree. Like, I'm being like a little bit over eccentric there, but essentially you could get like scissors on the end of something, like a pulley. You've seen the machines where you like
Yeah.
pull your hand and then it like cuts at the end. You could use that. That solution is far easier, so the level of difficulty is far reduced than trying to either put a ramp next to the tree so you can wheel yourself up onto the ramp onto a platform so you can pluck the apple from the tree. Like they're two different solutions to the same task. One is far easier than the other. How you find those solutions, like the affordance of picking the apple off the tree is it's there, the opportunity is there. But the actions you choose to make are different. And those actions, I think, are where the the environment, the social environment of everyone else
Mm,
has an impact of how hard or easy those solutions could be.
yeah.
And so the wording of that phrase, I'm not a fan of, from the perspective of a researcher and someone using an ecological approach, because it adds more difficulty, more murk, more noise into what affordances are, and the way that they can be described, and the way that it's used in sentences. So those coming into the field look at it and go, oh, so an affordance is just something that I can do. No. There are affordances of things that you can't do.
Mm,
Right? It's Jeff and we had a conversation about 20 minutes in one of our conversations about affordances. And it's in the book. I don't remember what chapter. It might be in the affordances chapter, which chapter 5, 6, something like that. Where affordances aren't just things you can do because you need to know what you can't do. There are affordances which you are unable to do. Like I can't fly because I'm not a bird. But if I go into a plane, I can fly. Um, I know I'm picking small things out. This is where I need to be able to go watch this video, go watch that video because it explains
yeah.
this in more detail. Um, but
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 like
I
my
yeah.
interpretation of what like they are saying is exactly what you're saying.
Mm,
Like the wording is very muddy, but like what you're saying is exactly what I'm taking from the conversation.
yeah.
Like
But
from the book, from the actual information as a practitioner is like, yes, what you said is what I'm thinking about.
and that's what I feel is the issue with the just the passage that you read out. I don't know the full
Mm.
context, so maybe it is discussed and explained in more depth later
It
on. Or
is there is a whole chapter, like multiple chapters.
yeah,
This is
so
just from
I
page.
am ordering said book.
Yeah, it's really
Uh,
like yeah, it is literally the introduction and one of the first things that I highlighted, which is why I grabbed it.
yeah,
Um
but yeah, I guess the red flag, the alarm bell would be if you are not that familiar with ecological psychology, the assumptions
yeah,
in it, what affordances may be, what specifying information is, how we view perception, and you still hold some of those traditional assumptions, there's a lot of misunderstanding that could happen.
that is true. Like I don't think I could read this. I could have read this a few years ago and got where I am now from it. I would have just assumed the
It's not a Gen Pop book.
It's no. It's not priced as a gem pop book either.
I mean, most books are about 20 plus quid.
Uh,
How much is a paperback? £20.
no. It was very funny because
I mean,
Tori was
the
like,
hardcover's 60, but
yeah. Tori was like, "Oh, it's a book. Well, I'm gonna have it now." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." Because like they assumed it was one of my fiction books, and I'm like,
oh,
"Yeah."
like the £8 to £10 range or the £8 to £12 range. Yeah, no.
And then
Academic,
I
that'll.
opened it, and I'm like, "Well, I mean, you're more than welcome to read it if you want to." And they looked at the front cover and I was like, "Oh, it looks like a textbook." I mean, yeah, it pretty much is. Oh no, I was like, "Yeah, I didn't think you would." No, I didn't think you would.
Nope. Nope. I mean, but that's the thing about a lot of the stuff that we research is it is research, and when you look at the covers of the books, boring. When you look at
Mm,
you open the book, you're like, wow, loads of paragraphs. You read the first sentence, you're like, right, there's four words there that if you don't have tons of previous experience with this, you're already Googling what this means.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
something else which I saw this morning, Sage Journals, it's a publisher in academic
yeah.
journals. I'm sure you're familiar. Those listening may not be. Sage Journals, useful. Um, I got an email and I was suggested to read one of the journals that I subscribe to. It's the Neurodiversity Journal. I know the irony. I'm subscribed to it so I can see what the titles of the papers are, and then I can go and read the paper and then get frustrated and then like have a rant and then feel better. So, but yeah, so
Hey,
the four papers in the latest issue that I got notified about. Can the neurodiversity movement make space for Tourette's? A picture paints 1,000 words, understanding how people conceptualize autism through images. Helping young people find the words, exploring the
I'm
impact.
angry now.
Exploring the impact of psychoeducational materials for neurodivergent young people. Exploring Canadian public perceptions of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Yeah.
Why can't we talk about the cool stuff? Like, so stupid.
But yeah, so I was going to bring up those, and then you're like, "Hey, here's a book about affordances and disabilities." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I'm like, "Hey, maybe the Neurodiversity Journal should have a read of the book."
This is exactly the point. Because if you look at all of these bloody stupid fucking things, it's like, oh, these people are broken people. Let's figure out how to fix them. I'm like, no,
They don't need fixing; they're not broken.
no. Like, can we stop talking about it in that way? Because it's useless and unhelpful. Like,
A broken human is a dead human.
yeah,
But
like
I'm not.
it's
I'm not dead. I'm
ah,
alive. I'm definitely alive over here.
it's so boring.
Something I did want to ask, because you mentioned it in passing,
Yeah,
field of affordances.
yeah.
I wrestled with it when we did the when I did the original video, and I've played with the ideas here and there, but I haven't done a full deep dive. It's one of the things I want to do when going through this again and doing like a video on each topic, because I will probably end up veering off in different directions.
Mm.
Um, where are you at with the field of affordances and its usefulness in application or understanding in theoretical discussions?
Um, so I went through a whole, so at the moment for my business, this is leading into the conversation of field of affordances, I found it really useful for describing like the for describing the undescribable, the bits of how our existence exists and why we do the things we do when there is no rationale reason for doing it.
Non-obvious causes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's that I find really interesting and really valuable and really helpful. So
I already know I'm going to do a whole video on non-obvious causes because it is so cool. Carry
I
on.
know. I can't wait for that video. I look forward to it. So for me, where I've got to is I started and then I was like, I need to produce some content for my business because content is how people find me and blah blah blah. So I'm
Content
like, well,
is
where?
king.
Yeah. Where where could I start? Where is approachable for people who don't like the traditional way of working? And I'm like, well, everybody likes tools and strategies and templates. And I'm like, well, how could I translate field of affordances, this really small, simple idea, and translate that into something that would be helpful as a starting point? And so I dove into and it's like, firstly, I was going to go, right, let's do width, depth, and height. Because if I separate them out, it's one concept, people can understand that, I can fit that into a 2 minute thing. But as I was writing and kind of putting that together, I was like, yeah, this sucks. Because width, depth, and height cannot exist without each other. Because it's not just width, and it's not just depth, and it's not just height. It's like it's all of it tied together and each influence each other. And that's
Yep.
like really helpful from a point of like how to describe this. And in the end, I got to the conclusion of like, I'm not even necessarily going to be talking about width, depth, and height. I'll know it's width, depth, and height.
So this is what I want to do. This is what I wanted to do, sorry, when I first saw it, is imagine with me. You have a box and you have a bit of string going from one side to the other and from top to bottom and then from front to back. Right? So there's
Mm,
three bits of string, left to right, front to back, and then top to bottom. And in the middle of that is like blue tack or something, clumping it all together. As you pull the bit of string, the clump of blue tack moves to the right or moves to the left, moves down, up, forwards, and back. That is how I visualize in my mind's eye um, what the field of affordances is,
mm,
are, could be. We are the clump of blue tack, and the directions are where we can sit.
mm.
The problem with that, though, is that the front, back, left, right, up, down, if all of those numbers are the same, you're in the same position. And I don't think we're always in the same position because we're coming from a different time. So you need to have a box next to a box.
Mm.
So it might be the same position, but because you're in a different box, you're actually in a different position. Which means the field of affordances in that model only works for one person at one time in that limited space. Which means
Mm.
you need another box. But then you have the same issue, and now you have a box in a box. And now we're in central executive field where you've got a box and a box and a box and a box, and you're playing Russian dolls. So I'm
So
like,
for me, where I got to is I'm just talking about the experiences because that has been the most valuable as I'm producing and coming up with the ideas for the content of like, cool. So I'm struggling with creating a piece of content. What's happening? Like I will go, what's going on with the width? Like what's there? What's here? Which one is screaming at me right now? Like, what's the problem? Oh, there is that fear of fucking it up and saying the wrong thing when you produce the. Oh, okay, cool, that's there. Okay, what does that mean for this and this? And like that interconnected weave of like I start with one point but end up going through all three and then seeing how they work. And from there I can almost shift that for myself and I
hmm.
influence and that directs my intention and what I'm actually doing. And like, it's like, okay, cool. How can I bring this? How can I educate my intention and where I'm looking and what I'm looking at, my attention, to actually do the thing I want to do? What am I intending to do? What will I do? And so I use that as almost a, and I hate it, a diagnostic criteria to help me figure out what's happening, why my attention is over here when really I just want to post the damn piece of content. And instead of assuming that I'm like broken, which is the traditional way of doing it. It's like, oh well, I'm just disorganized. I'm procrastinating. I'm like, no, why am I procrastinating? I know I'm procrastinating. That's not helpful. Duh. Why am I
No, nothing's
procrastinating?
getting done.
Just knowing I'm procrastinating is not actually any help to me. Why am I procrastinating? What's shouting at me? What's not shouting at me? And so I use width, depth, and height to help align my attention into what's going on. And then as I do that, it's like, oh, cool, it's this. Oh, right, cool. Now I can problem solve. And that I think is really useful because we are problem solving individuals. As soon as we find a problem, we want to solve it. Like, that's something we just do.
Yeah, all organisms do.
Yeah. So
Education of attention and
yeah,
intention.
yeah. And I use that as a tool to educate intention and attention. And then there we go. And everyone and every single time I've used it, people are like, oh, this is so much easier because I realized all of these things happen like this. This is such simple. I'm like, yes, I know it's simple. That's the damn point.
Hmm.
So how I'm
Yes.
doing it with social media is purely around like I'm actually just using examples. I'm just recording examples of here's what's going on. Here's what it means to me. Here's the width. Here's the height. Here's the depth. I don't. I'm still playing with whether I'm going to call it that so that it's exposing the idea. I haven't decided yet.
Mm.
Um, but I'm going to be testing it out to go, here's the width, here's the depth, here's the height, and what does this mean? Okay, because of this, and this, well, I need to direct my attention here to reduce that feeling of I'm going to fuck this up, I'm going to say the wrong thing. What if I do say the wrong thing? What does that mean? Who can I talk to that I can align my ideas with, who I can go, hey, am I missing a point here? Am I missing something here? What is, am I risking doing something that I wouldn't want? What am I not seeing? Versus just going, well, this is a piece of shit and I'm never going to do it again, and then don't do it. So it helps. Yeah. Ta-da! With depth, height.
Yeah. Yep. I did notice. I was not going to comment, but you did, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's where I
Right.
got.
So here's a question for you then.
Yeah,
Obviously, if I'm going to be making, well, I want to be making more eco-site content. I think it's what I'm doing. It's just I am trying to find a way to make it applicable. I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm just going to do what I enjoy making, which is eco-psych stuff because that's what I end up reading and researching anyway. So yeah. Forget the coaches. I'm just like, yeah, that's how I'm going to apply into coaching, but I'm not going to talk about that because I think it's too niche. So, eco-psych. But do you think it's worth doing some cog-psych videos? Because traditional cog-psych is obviously the opposing view or the alternative view, etc., etc. And I think it, like for me, it's worth understanding the difference between cog-psych and eco-psych. If you're only talking about eco-psych, you've only got like one perspective, one view. So I'm like, not sure whether or not I do a almost like a series. Here's EcoPsych, here's CogPsych. Tune into which one you're interested in.
I suppose you can.
Because there
Like,
will be ideas in cognitive psychology that I reference in ecological psychology. And I
yeah,
think it'd be useful to have those videos to reference.
that's true.
Like blind sight, for example. It's an idea that's discussed quite a lot in cognitive psychology, and that's where a lot of the research is. And when ecological psychology mentions blind sight, they're like, oh yeah, there's loads of research in this. So it's kind of like I want to be able to reference to other ideas. I guess older ideas, but they're not really older ideas. They're just researched more because they're cognitive psychology and traditional neuroscience has more money, funding, interest,
Yeah.
papers.
Meh.
Yeah. Even though the Bayesian brain, which is one of the most sort of like forward-thinking ideas in the way neuroscience works, etc., etc., Madher published a paper in June this year, The Myth of the Bayesian Brain. Don't know whether you saw that, but yeah, I want to try and do a video on that one as well because that's exciting. It's obviously it's a deep paper. You've got to understand Bayesian brain, computational neuroscience, etc., etc., etc. But like I think
Small,
it's
tiny concepts then.
oh yeah.
Really
Um,
simple stuff.
yeah, I mean, I can let me just find the paper. It is this one. Go away. Uh, oh, why have you done that? Yeah, so the abstract start. The Bayesian brain hypothesis, the idea the neurosystems implement or approximate Bayesian inference, has become a dominant framework in cognitive neuroscience over the past 2 decades. Yes, it has. While mathematically elegant and conceptually unifying, this paper argues that the hypothesis occupies an ambiguous territory between useful metaphor and testable biological plausible mechanistic explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, try saying that 3 times fast.
So, and then this paper it says we critically examine the key claims of the Bayesian brain hypothesis, highlighting issues of unfalsifying biological implausibility and inconsistent empirical support. The framework's remarkable flexibility in accommodating diverse findings raises concerns about its explanatory power, as models can often be adjusted post hoc to fit virtually any data pattern. That's where I wanted to get to.
Ooh.
It basically says Bayesian brain doesn't say anything apart from gives you an idea to map anything to, as it says, as models can often be adjusted post hoc to fit virtually any data pattern. So they do the study, they look at it and go, oh, that kind of looks like this. Let's just say it was this, rather than it having explanatory power. That's the argument that I believe that they're making in this. Um, Almost 5,500 people have accessed this paper according to the data. So, and this was published middle this year, so that's not too bad. But it's open access. Um, it is, as you can imagine, quite long. What's that? Yeah, and it's readable. I'll put a link in the chat in case you want to read it.
Thank you.
Um, but yeah, so these sorts of conversations, I don't think the coaches that I would be targeting would be interested in. And so that's why I've done a shift because I'm reading this stuff and what I found myself doing was asking how to apply the ideas and the theories in practice for a way that the coaches can see the application of. So I was doing a lot of work to make the paper and the research applicable. And I realized, you know what? They shouldn't be my job.
Mm.
Because if they're interested in understanding how to apply different ideas, then they should be able to do that themselves in their own context. So I'm just going to discuss the ideas. I'm probably get like 20 views a video because no one's going to understand it. But hey, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anything else you want to mention?
No, not really.
So I think we'll close out the podcast there, and I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit further about some other stuff. But yeah, so thanks everyone for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.